The world's most sophisticated atomic clock, a marvel of complex precision, is so accurate that it would lose only a second every 40 billion years, nearly 3 times the age of our universe. Just like the clock, a nation, a complex body of interconnected parts, relies on seamless synchrony and coordination. Can smart governance, harnessing AI, cloud infrastructure, and data provide this?
Good afternoon. Hope you had a great lunch. We are thrilled to be here this afternoon as part of Supercharged. My name is Brian Lott. I'm the Chief Communications Officer for Mubadala, and it's my pleasure to be the moderator for this next panel. We've got a great set of distinguished guests. First, I'd like to introduce Kiril Evtimov, who is the CEO of Core 42 and the CTO of G42. We've got Pramotedham, who is the CEO of Presight. We have Solaimani, who is the head of global affairs and partnerships in the MENA region for OpenAI. Rod is on his way, had a slight traffic disruption, so will be with us in just a second, and will make a dramatic entrance stage left. And most importantly, we have His Excellency Dr. Mohamed Al Kuwaiti, who is the head of the UAE Cybersecurity Council, who is going to join us first with a few remarks for the podium. Can we have a round of applause for His Excellency?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good afternoon, everybody. Actually, they shocked me with the podium, and everybody knows me. I'm not good with podiums in that perspective, but thank you very much. I'm really pleased, honored to be with you all. Mr. Peng, thank you very much for this relationship, for the partnership. And actually, the first one I know from G42 is Mr. Peng. We go back to 2015, 2016, when we started many of those great moments. And look where we're at today. Great events, great achievements, great, alhamdulillah, milestones, if I may say. So thank you very much, G42, for all of the aspects that we are doing. Thank you very much for setting a model for UAE in many of the things that we already accomplished, as a matter of fact. And allow me to thank as well the great teams who helped us. Recently, in the past 1 week, we've been through so many cyber attacks. And those who follows many of those things, I'm sure they know what we are talking about. It's not only the misinformation, disinformation that you see in the social media, and thank you for Presight, who are actually analyzing so much of this data. It's not only for the APTs as well as the DDoS. Thank you to CPX, who's helping in that perspective as well, and really making a sense of all of this. Thank you as well to the Core 42, where we host our data. And it's really paid off in many of the things we do in that sovereign cloud. Many of the things clients, I'm talking here national security clients, as well as, alhamdulillah, government clients, who really reached out to those great achievements, great products, great systems that we have. I'm sure now everybody knows something called Z100, R100, F100, and many of those 100. And this is where the secret of 10x or 100x, as a matter of fact, based on our leadership. And yes, those cyber attacks were really impacting us all. However, the good thing is none of them were successful, alhamdulillah. The good thing is we have a team who work 24/7 to make sure not only we as a Cybersecurity Council, but also the whole UAE government, the NSOC, the proactive detection of many of those attacks are really in place and really serving many of the things that we have. We are here to protect and defend, and we saw a great achievement on this. I never said this to anybody. Again, G42 to me is like a family, and I'm really honored to be here with you all. Please keep the good work. It's not only us who benefit out of this. As a matter of fact, the community. I was on the weekend in one of the majlis in Abu Dhabi, and we were giving an awareness lecture. And at the same time, in the morning, we were in Galleria. And those who goes to the Galleria Mall, they will see a big stand happening there to protect as well and to spread awareness of cybersecurity, because we believe in one thing, and one thing is really paying off for us. The community is the first line of defense for us all. Well, that's what we saw, and that's where we actually lean towards this community, leans towards those new generation, young generation, who are really helping us to be the first line of defense. And alhamdulillah, we saw this across so many things, and we were successful on that end. But the coming and the upcoming things are more and more. AI have changed so many things. Things that we used to do and took us so long in reverse engineering and malware, or really detecting with the Presight some of those events, now we do it in no time. And thanks to you all on that perspective. Thank you for all of the efforts that you're doing. More and more coming, inshallah, on this. Is this time all of it for me? I don't think I will. It's too much. I don't think I will sit better and really discuss this with my great friends here. So again, my closing word, thank you very much, always, for all of the efforts that we're doing. Cybersecurity culture to us is very important. With all of this AI, with all of the things that's happening across us, the quantum, as a matter of fact, coming in this perspective, the agentic AI things that we already implemented, as a matter of fact, the cloud computing and the GPUs that are really changing things here. These are to sit with us and continue all of this towards our centennial 2071 AI nation. And that's the milestone done and given by our leadership. And we are here all to really reach to that milestone with you all. Thank you very much for everything. I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Dr. Kuwaiti, thank you. So those of us who live in the UAE, welcome, Rod. Perfect time.
Welcome. I was listening backstage.
Welcome. Those of us who are fortunate to live here have seen and been witness to a country that has responded to the new digital age, particularly during COVID, like no other on earth. Sophisticated, openly, safely, giving us residents and citizens a sense of security and confidence at a time when most countries don't have confidence in their government. As we go into this age of AI, why is that sector, that future, so important to the future of the UAE?
UAE is, I'm sure, being here for sometimes now you realize, UAE is not for UAE itself. UAE is for the whole globe. UAE is for the whole region in that perspective, setting a model that could actually really serve the whole entities in this. Yes, there are these agilities of governings and policies and procedures and legislations, all the way to giving not only those golden visa, but also, alhamdulillah, going now into the citizenship in many of those aspects. We do not distinguish between someone from X or Y or any of those aspects. We live in a very neutral place, and that based for technologies or based for people in that perspective. Tolerance is one of the most important things and icons that our leadership, they always actually focus on this. And the most important thing as well we see is the people. We are blessed with great people who, whenever they come here, they see those policies and they themselves follow those policies or procedures or laws and set a model for us, which makes us really humble enough to serve them more and more. And that's what we saw in COVID. It's with all of the restrictions happening across the whole world, we see the community, the society are really engaged one-on-one with our leadership, with our government, and really they're the one who are really setting many of those models. And this is what our leadership always say. If this community is really, their goal is one, and one thing is to raise the name of UAE, to build that reputation, the least we can do is to serve this community. The least we can do is to really be aligned with them in many of those things. And this is what we see now in the AI. We are here to serve that community, the innovation and the ideas and the aspirational thinkers and the great things that comes out of this community is not only serving UAE, it's the whole world. And this is why we are definitely here to continue that great emphasis on that partnership.
Thank you. Kiril, as we know from our leadership and from Peng in particular, you can't have that AI-enabled future without the right infrastructure and the right technology underpinning that ecosystem. And at Core 42 and G42 as well, you're building that. Can you talk about why that's so necessary and how much capacity is going to be required to take us into that great new future?
Good afternoon, everyone. Here and discuss the importance of us enabling this AI native future for the country of the UAE, for the region, for the global south, and for the globe itself. So when it comes to infrastructure, we never think about infrastructure on its own. We think about the infrastructure that is required to underpin the foundational capabilities that we as an organization, and when I say we, I'm talking about the broad G42 family of companies, the UAE ecosystem of developers and innovators, and the partners that we work with around the globe. And from a foundational capabilities, there are several components that make the infrastructure so important. I will start with cloud computing infrastructure. So what we need in order to provide the digital infrastructure required to support workloads, depending on the workloads' sense of urgency and privacy required to enable the services for the citizens of the country. So whether it's private cloud, whether it's a hybrid cloud, or a public cloud backbone, you need to have the cloud infrastructure in order to support the services. The second component in this foundational pyramid is the data management component, because we spoke about this in the morning. The most transformational capabilities built for the citizens, whether it's in the healthcare space or in the public sector health space, is when you really have an integrated platform which allows you to manage the data, which fuels the artificial intelligence capabilities delivered by every single developer around the world. So having the data management capabilities enabled on a foundational level is key. The third component is the GPU and the AI accelerators computing capabilities, which again provide this advanced processing power that is needed to enable the capabilities for these services. On top of the GPUs, we're talking about the AI models, the machine learning ops capabilities that will allow you to iterate fast and deliver innovative solutions on a regular cadence. The next one is around cybersecurity. So this is the fifth layer in this pyramid. Obviously, cybersecurity posture and cybersecurity capabilities are extremely important, and delivering them as a foundational component is absolutely key. Finally, you have this digital identity component and regulatory technology component that is so important to incorporate in the foundational capabilities in order to make the development of the use case specific implementations easier and faster. So those will be the six components that, in my opinion, are truly the foundational capabilities that can unleash the innovation cycle that is going to be second to none in the world. In terms of the capacity that is required in order to enable this, I will just share a brief experience that I had with one of our very close partners. I just had breakfast with Jeff Clark, who is the vice chairman and the CEO for Dell. And between him and I, we share several decades of experience in high-tech industry. And we were both sharing this profound experience that we've never seen in our careers before this moment in time. The technology has never moved so fast. And when you think about infrastructure, it typically takes a significantly longer time to bring the infrastructure online. Now we're talking about very compressed cycles with a technology that is evolving so rapidly that we need to rethink about what infrastructure really means. How do you manage these massive investments and massive deployments that we haven't done prior as an industry? So going back to your question, how much capacity do we need? In order to enable the best experience for the citizens in the country, we need to have enough capacity on day one in order to bring the services online. And it takes a leap of faith, it takes leadership, it takes courage to instantiate this infrastructure. And we're very lucky to live and work in the UAE because that strategic leadership, that belief that AI is going to help lift our lives is really present and supports our mission.
That's the key
supports
to
our vision.
Yeah, the fundamental promise, because the citizens have been led to expect something, and we want to make sure that expectation is met. Thomas, Dr. Kuwaiti, and Kiril both mentioned the importance of this larger ecosystem of customers, partners, citizens, both feeding in and being kind of that first line of defense and response. Talk a bit about Presight and how important it is, both from a company standpoint and a larger ecosystem and community standpoint, to rely on those partners, both here and abroad.
Well, I think thank you very much for having us. The audience here today is quite a unique audience, like Dr. Kuwaiti said. These are our practitioners of the G42 ecosystem. Our partners, OpenAI, Microsoft, and Dell, it's here. But we're all faced with one mission. When Presight started, Peng would relate to it. This was your first baby, one of your first company that started. He focused on big data analytics, BI, he spoke about applied. We used it in 2017, 2018, we used it in COVID. The company continued to build solutions around the G42 ecosystem and allow many of these applications to apply in Abu Dhabi and the UAE. So the concept of just taking technology, infrastructure, models, applying to day-to-day challenges and making real impact is what Presight and G42 symbolizes. Now, we have taken the success. Dr. Kuwaiti has been a big purveyor of the success of Abu Dhabi. We've shown examples of how AI-enabled and now AI-native governments can tap on. Examples like TAM, examples like the big large language models we put in the open source, examples like Lifesaver, Dr. Kuwaiti, one of your big projects that Presight does. These are examples on how we are enabling citizen service in the country. But more importantly, we're very blessed to be in the UAE because UAE has developed an ecosystem. And all of you here seated is the ecosystem of not just fulfilling the vision of what we want to do today. We went from AI native, AI enabled to AI native. We had the AI ministry since 2017. The foresight of manifesting the vision into action is what the UAE ecosystem has done through G42. And together with Dr. Kuwaiti, Peng, they have been at the tip of the arrow sharing this vision to the global south. And a big part of Presight's mission, together with them, is to bring this AI native, to bring this AI solution to the global south by paying as it, elevating and taking away the global south divide. As we develop these solutions, we share them from Abu Dhabi, but more importantly, like what Kiril is doing and what we hear from Stargate UAE, is to create infrastructure that will make it accessible to countries that have yet to have access to that. What's important of it, and this is always said, it is not the infrastructure, it's the intelligence. The unit of intelligence that we can share with citizens in the UAE, in Abu Dhabi, which have applied and working towards our AI native government. But this unit of intelligence that we can share with countries that have yet to have access to it. Abu Dhabi and UAE through G42 has championed that mission. And what Presight has done is really take the collective ecosystem, core, inception, analog, CPX together and bring it to the global south. And day to day, we look at it and we ask ourselves, what can we do in these governments, in Africa, in Central Asia, in East Asia? How can we enable them, not later, not 3 years' time, but today, using the policies that Abu Dhabi government and UAE would share, using the solutions that Presight has developed, applied in the UAE together with G42 ecosystem, using the infrastructure that we're building here through virtual sovereign services, as well as AI for Nations, and of course, I'm sure Rod will talk about it for OpenAI for Nations. It's the ability to bring an ecosystem of enablement and allow us to consume alternative intelligence, artificial intelligence today in the country we live in, which we're very proud of, and the countries that we want to take to in the global south.
Rod, we're a lot smarter today because of OpenAI and its products and its technology. Most of the world is still transitioning to what we are calling in this panel AI native. And it's not the result of one technology, it's a result of all of these components working together. Maybe a two-part question for you. Why the UAE is so critical to OpenAI, and then how you see that success factor, because obviously you think the UAE is a place to do business, has come together better here, or is a model maybe for other countries to follow in terms of partnerships and these components of supporting the OpenAI technology?
Sure. I'll start with why the UAE, because I think there's an interesting story to tell also for everyone here. I mean, the short answer is it's because of G42. And I don't mean to, blow smoke anywhere, but effectively, about 3, 4, even if we go 5 years ago, there weren't many high conviction bets on the direction that artificial intelligence was going to evolve, right? There were maybe 2 published papers on LLMs, I think, and that's where we put our focus. Soon after, we started stacking transformer layers, we discovered the scaling laws, and we realized we were onto something. Fast forward a bit, we have GPT-3. Now, we think it's revolutionary internally, right? Where our minds are blown, we think this is incredible. So we do a mini world tour, and we go and meet with leaders everywhere, lawmakers everywhere, and we say, we think we're on the cusp of something, and as you gentlemen know, this grows on an exponential curve. And we think you should think about it. How is it going to transform your government, your society, your laws, your regulations? And I don't know if anyone here, when you were in school, you did a science project. It was a terrible science project, but you present it and the teacher claps and says, job well done, and they send you back with that trifold. So effectively, that's how we were treated everywhere except one place, and that was here. This was the only place where not only they matched the vision, but they surpassed it. And that isn't just because of imagination. It's because they were already building, doing, working, developing, advancing. And in short, that's why we were able to have these conversations 2.5 years ago that led us to this partnership today on Stargate and OpenAI for countries. And a lot of that goes to leadership here, Mr. Peng, Kiril, Thomas, His Excellency, and Andrew Jackson, of course, who helped shepherd this along the way. And I'll drill down now to, I think, your second question, which was, why does it work here? What's making it work? And I think we share a vision in terms of AGI for all of humanity. And this panel has mentioned reaching out to the global south. It's one thing to pay lip service to that. It's another thing to actually, and I've seen G42 this, to meet people where they are, right? I think what makes the UAE incredible as a government is they meet their citizens where they are. So in terms of deploying AI, it's what languages do you speak? What's your reading level? As we move into multimodality, do you prefer images, video, auditory? There are any number of avenues we can begin to explore in terms of reaching citizens 24/7. The other part, when it comes to other countries, it's what I feel the UAE does and G42 do, is they have that conversation. So they go and ask, and we have this conversation side by side. They say, how do you want to participate in the future? What's that value chain look like? And then you'll have leaders say, look, we have the research and development, but we don't have the capital. We have the capital, we don't know where to start with infrastructure. We have the infrastructure, how do we get chips? And to have a partner come to you and say, we can guide you through that full stack and let you know what everyone else is doing so you're not duplicating efforts or doing something that isn't future-proofed, I think is incredible. And that's why you have such confidence from your partners globally.
Your Excellency, I remember during COVID, there were people that were amazed that the UAE had a single app that was able to help us all navigate to work, with our families, back to school, all of those things. It's the benefit of being a small country, but it's also a benefit of being a forward-leaning country in terms of thinking about a situation like that. I think it caught the attention of the world and amazed the world at what a sort of model country could do. So for us, it was about safety and convenience, this use and application of technology. But now we're shifting into something in this panel's main topic about being AI native. If you look 5 or 10 years, which in AI terms seems like a lifetime, what is that going to feel like to that next generation of people who are growing up in an AI native country?
So definitely it's a culture. And that's what we always try to send and really build that progression. Technology, definitely it's a tool used to many of those personnel, but once you take it as a culture, once you really build it into your lifestyle, into your system, this is where the added value comes. This is where the real efficiency, optimization, things that happen. So imagine now in a personal level, if I'm using that technology and that native apps or native mobiles or devices, see how much added value I'm getting, as a matter of fact, be it in keeping track with my schedule, keeping my AI agent that takes notes for me for wherever I go to this meeting or that meeting. Imagine doing now the same thing, but for the nation. A whole native AI nation. And that's where we're heading. And that's where the centennial of UAE going towards 2071 to build that AI nation. And if I give an example, based on a great example, the team that actually, and project that they're actually working, be it in the infrastructure, be it in the partnership, be it in those great AI solutions that we see today. We're not talking here about only, maybe enhancing the return of investment, or maybe enhancing and optimizing many of the GDP that we have, or adding and increasing any of this. We're talking here about, if I come into our Supreme Council of National Security and the national security and cybersecurity, it's saving lives. And this is where we lowered the number of crimes in the whole UAE. And this is why I'm sure you follow the competitiveness rankings of UAE is #1 on the lowest number of crimes because of those great systems, because of many of those things happen. So Video Brain, for example, one of those solutions that today we use. Maybe some people look at it, oh, it's a ticketing system. If you speed, you get a ticket. If you're not wearing your seatbelt, you get a ticket, and many of those things. But if you see the real value behind that, from serving and really saving the lives. I don't know how many cases were saved or saved people's lives in using Video Brain. And similarly, Z100 and similarly. So imagine that whole nation comes into that systematic perspective. And this is where safety, security, and many of this, alhamdulillah, aspects that we see adding to this great GDP of UAE, great trust. And this is the word that we always actually focus on. When you have this trust with this great community, we have this trust with the whole region and world, this is where you will see more and more, again, partners to come and and more UAE model to be actually achieved. And I will end up with under the United Nations, for example, we have showed our NSOC model as the national cybersecurity SOC on that perspective. More than 25 nations, as a matter of fact, followed with us in order to get that same model, in order to build up from governance to policies to procedures to even building technologies, talents, all the way to detecting and protecting and really responding to many of those attacks. So that's what makes us proud. A model came out from you all and really now is serving more than 25 nations across the whole world. That's the model we are interested in, and that's where we're actually heading to build that AI native nation.
Impressive. Kiril, you talked about this conversation you had with a colleague about the speed of technology and keeping up with progress and keeping up with the advancements that are happening so quickly. There are a lot of naysayers and a lot of negative energy about AI in the future. We don't have enough energy. We don't have enough resources to power it. We don't have enough chips. Chips are too clunky. We're not there yet. But in your experience, as you think back to 2021 and the leap of the last 4 years, is it just accelerating so quickly that all of those negative arguments about capacity and the capability of a country to be an AI native country, is that going to be obsolete? Are we just going to reach a point where it just becomes obvious that we can do this, or do we still have challenges yet?
So we have a saying internally that we're using quite frequently, and we're calling capacity is strategy. That's how we think about what we're building here. Again, as an industry, we're trying to understand what is this velocity curve that we need to really support in terms of delivering infrastructure for the use cases to be implemented on. And this debate is very healthy, in my personal opinion, because the capital expense outlay required to instantiate this infrastructure is massive. And we're seeing the new generation of AI hardware changing so rapidly that we may need to rethink about how we're going to do the recycling of the infrastructure with each cycle. So, for example, the density of the compute that we need to deploy in the same data centers may not be supported by the same data centers that we're building today. So how are we going to bring the next generation of hardware 3 years from now? This is a question that we need to answer as practitioners, as people who are responsible for driving this infrastructure. So I do not see any slowdown in terms of the need for advanced computing capabilities worldwide. I think the companies will continue to bring the infrastructure online, and we will come to a tipping point when we will be much smarter in terms of projecting how much capacity is required. At the moment, we're seeing massive acceleration. We've talked about this many times. There are at least 6 companies worldwide that are spending over $50 billion in AI infrastructure per year. And this is a trajectory that, in my opinion, will continue in the years to come.
It's similar to when Mubadala first invested in the semiconductor industry. People said we couldn't go below 14 nanometer, and then it was 7, and then it's 5. It just, Moore's law accelerated, the size of the chip got smaller, and the efficiency got greater, all of which is now powering this next generation of AI compute, which is incredible. One obstacle, Thomas, that we may face is potential regulatory obstacles around data security, around privacy, around how much data can go into the cloud, particularly in questions of health and individual identity. Can you share with us some of the ways to do that meet those concerns and challenges around personal identity and security while still achieving what Dr. Kuwaiti said, which are these breakthroughs in incredible advances in technology in other sectors?
I think one of the ways to look at this is you look at history. Look at how UAE has moved and created our cloud-first policy, our data policy, and a better understanding of the data that we're going to use. The second way to look at it is purpose. What are you using this purpose for? Technology, sometimes like data, if it's useful, we accept it's a culture of what we want to do to it. Today, with Cybersecurity Council, with the data policies, with AI for Good, there are multiple regulatory bodies set in place to help us identify the type of data we need, the type of data we want to use. Data replication, data management technology, many of you will be familiar with, doesn't require us to keep a copy of every single data. The use of training data between actual data we have in the internet, actual data that we have in the archives, to synthetic data today are all different methods and approaches we can take to overcome some of these challenges. But fundamentally, the question to us all is, what are you trying to change? What do you want to achieve with this intelligence that you want to provide? And that gives us and guides us to the questions of how much infrastructure we want to use, how much compute we need, and what kind of data and data guidelines we need to put in place. Without a doubt, there will be biasness, there will be learning. You started with, like Peng said, the knowledge of humanity, and then we learn from there. I think the key point we want to take away is you need to start. And then you need to accept that the first science project that we ever do in our life is not perfect. But if you don't start and you never do a science project, then you never take the step to embrace technology in your life. So, and you're right, there will be data constraints, there will be data discussions, but this will not be any far different from the last 20 years of evolution we have in the application of technology. We need to stay focused on, why are we doing this? Do we need more of this intelligence? And if so, what are we going to improve in the way we work, the way we live, the way we play, the way society is? And the essence of it will gain time. What are you going to do with this time? Because all AI will do, and one big part of AI will do, is return time to us. We're going to solve crime faster, we're going to solve compute, we're going to solve efficiency, we're going to solve energy transitions faster. The time that we take back is what's most meaningful to humanity, right? And we need to use that big picture to frame and look at any restrictions you may have around data privacy, data bias, and apply the right level of regulatory framework collectively as a country, as transnational organizations together to organize that. But do not step away because of data and the work that we need to do around that.
I mean, there are similar concerns, Your Excellency, about the cloud, right? How would we keep all this data in the cloud safe? And thanks to the work that you and the Council and others have done, we've actually shown that you can actually have data in the cloud that remains secure, safe, usable in aggregate, and still private individually.
So that's actually one of the essence of many of the things that we do here. You definitely build up your hybrid type of clouds, allow others to benefit from each one of those options. Not everybody wants to, or maybe can afford to go to this type of cloud or this type of cloud. We called it A, B, and C type of clouds. But now with that hybrid model, that again, thank you for the Core 42 and actually helping and working with us in that perspective, it's really now affordable to everybody, from those SMEs, small, medium businesses, all the way to top secret type of entities and agencies. And this is where allow them to reach to that endpoint. What do I need to use this data for? And this is what we've seen, as a matter of fact, across so many projects, so many systems that we have. And then on top of that, then comes those the great GPUs, where you definitely need those to optimize and speed up many of your processes. So the effort is really continuing and enhancing that more and more.
Thank you. Rod, last question to you. We've had big announcements in DC with OpenAI this year, big announcements in Abu Dhabi just a month ago. As you think about the next 1 or 2 years in terms of geographies, particularly from where you sit in the Middle East and North Africa, we talked about the Global South. Is there a next destination? Is it enough on your plate to think about those 2 big geographies and the build-out for OpenAI, or are you already thinking about what's next?
Sure, I'll be very quick. The only thing that allows us to think further afield, for example, from the Gulf, is this partnership. This is very much something that amplifies, I think, the impact of AI and AGI. So we can look to Central Asia. We can look to East Africa. We can look to the Maghreb, the Sahel. And I don't think, we've always had the appetite and the vision, but the capability is here. And I think the fact that we found partners that are willing to share that capability is what's going to allow us to do so much over the next 2-3 years. And the last thing I'll say is, these next 2-3 years are not linear, and I think everyone knows that. So as you build compute, you know, questions like how do we solve cancer is just how much compute you point at it. How do we get past Mars? How much compute do you point at it? And for this to be one of very few places in the world to be able to ask and answer those questions is just incredible.
Great. Thank you. Round of applause for our panelists. Thank you very much for this great conversation.